If you're really interested in making certain changes in yourself and in your life, when you practice then thinking different ways, and if you say, what do I want to believe in? Well, the process of just closing your eyes and with intention and attention, remind yourself that you want to think this way. You keep doing that, you'll start thinking that way. If you start rehearsing in your mind how you're going to be with your coworker, how you're going to be with your different circumstances or people in your life, and you rehearse the act of how you could evolve your experience, the act of rehearsing is changing your brain. It's installing circuitry to look like you've already experienced it. When you say, God, I'm so tired of feeling frustrated, I'm so tired of feeling unhappy, I'm so tired of feeling unworthy, how do I want to feel? And you start creating those feelings independent of any reliance on your external world. No one's making you feel that way. You're actually making yourself feel that way. You start doing that enough times and you're going to start feeling that way. You're going to start becoming that person. So when that occurs, if a person immerses themselves in the process for 7 days, our data shows that in 7 days, if you think differently, if you make different choices, you do different things, you create different experiences, and you feel new emotions, you are going to be a different person. Your biology is going to suggest, before your life even changes, your biology is going to suggest in 7 days that your body is literally believing it's living in a whole new reality. Keep that up for an extended period of time. That starts feeling a lot better than feeling some of the emotions that people typically feel. And you notice the distinction between when you're there and when you're not.
So true.
The studious person goes, this is so familiar, this is so me, old me, I don't want to be that, I want to get back to feeling this feeling. I'm actually making myself happy. Then something weird happens because you're no longer waiting for your life to change to feel happy. You're actually creating happiness independent of what's going on in your life. Watch out what happens in your world, because your world begins to change in these wonderful and mysterious and synchronistic ways, because that's the effect of your change in energy, and nobody changes in their life until they change, right? So nothing can possibly change in their life until they change. And so we teach people the model of change so that that exact thing happens just like for you. You start noticing you're not feeling that way any longer, and you don't like it, and you want to go back to feeling that way. When people feel whole and happy for no reason, they want less, and they rely on less on other people to make them feel happy. They can actually feel happy on their own, and nobody's making them feel happy when they do this. They're actually making themselves happy. There's a freedom that takes place with that. Staying there then is the mastery. So you could have a great meditation. You can fire and wire those circuits in your brain till they become a new belief. You can rehearse how you're going to be in your life. You're going to feel those feelings and those emotions. But when you get done with your meditation, you go back to the old personality. You default. The question is, how many times do you have to forget until you stop forgetting and start remembering? That's the real moment of change. 95% of those hardwired thoughts or beliefs or perceptions, those unconscious habits or behaviors or those automatic emotional responses, that 95% is the identity that we have to overcome in order to become that new person. And you got to start really getting conscious of those unconscious thoughts, so conscious of them that you don't go unconscious. Become so aware of how you speak, so conscious of how you're acting that you catch yourself in the act of default, and you begin to change that, and you got to look, oh God, what do I feel every day? What is it? If I look at how I feel every day, do I really want to feel this way? And the more conscious you become of those feelings, the less unconscious you'll go in your waking day, and that's the unlearning process. And that's where people usually give up because they think they're doing their meditations wrong, and they're actually doing it right. They're coming up against the automatic self, that really, the programmed self, the unconscious self, that they literally have to change. And so if they stick around long enough to decide that they no longer want to think that way or act that way or feel that way, the discomfort that's created from that process is a biological change that takes place in the body. the body's starving from its normal chemistry. It's not firing and wiring the same circuits. You're not signaling the same genes. The body's leaving known and familiar territory. And this is where most people say, I can't meditate. It doesn't feel right. And we know that if you actually sit in that and you ask yourself, is there something on the other side of that? That's when the brain changes the most. That's when the body changes the most. And we now know that when you do this enough times, in 7 days, there's so many biological changes that take place in the person that begin to cause a lot of growth and repair in their physical bodies.
That says that if you keep thinking the same way, doing the same things, react emotionally the same way, the body tends to economize how we store information. So if we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day, and 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before, and you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, as long as you're thinking it in the same way, it makes sense that your life is going to stay the same. So then the same thoughts always lead to the same choices. The same choices always lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the same experiences. And the same experiences produce the same emotions, and those same emotions begin to influence our very same thoughts. Now the catch is that our biology, our neurocircuitry, our neurochemistry, our hormones, and even our gene expression is equal to how we think, how we act, and how we feel. So the principle of economy says that nerve cells that fire together will wire together. So by thinking the same way, making the same choices, performing the same behaviors, creating the same experiences that lead to the same emotions that reaffirm the feeling that's familiar to you, and you do that 5 to 10 years ongoing, you begin to hardwire your brain into a very finite signature. Now that finite signature is a level of mind, because mind is the brain in action. So then we're reminding ourselves who we are based on how we think, how we act, and how we feel. You do that enough times, then it all of a sudden becomes like a computer program. And our personality, by the time we're 35 years old, becomes a set of memorized behaviors, automatic habits, unconscious emotional reactions, hardwired beliefs, perceptions, attitudes that function just like a computer program, which means you press start and it runs automatically. So most people's behaviors, most people's thoughts, most people's emotional reactions, they've done so many times that they no longer are conscious that they're doing them. So 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a set of unconscious states of mind and body. So then crisis, trauma, disease, diagnosis, loss causes a person to finally stop the programs and ask themselves an important question. Do I want to stay this way, or do I want to change? Now, the moment we're feeling so unhappy that we're no longer returning our emails or posting on Facebook or Instagram, we're no longer texting back to people, we're no longer showing up for dinner and seeing the same people and doing the same things. When we reach that point in our life where we no longer feel the same way and nothing in our life is making that feeling go away, this is that moment of awakening where the person starts to look and observe and think about what they're thinking about. They start becoming aware and conscious of how they act, how they speak. They notice that the feeling that they've been living by for the last 25 years is guilt, but they didn't know it was guilt because it feels like how they always feel. Now, the moment they can observe those states of mind and body, and they become conscious of it, they're no longer unconscious, which means they're no longer in the program. They're consciousness observing their unconscious self, and that's the first step to change. In fact, the word meditation means to become familiar with. So as you become familiar with those hardwired thoughts, automatic habituations, reflexive emotional reactions, when you become so conscious of those unconscious states of mind and body that you won't go unconscious to your old personality self in your waking day, Now you're out of the bleachers and you're on the playing field. Now the game has begun. So then most people try to change their personality with the 5% of their conscious mind that's working against 95% of what they've programmed subconsciously. And meditation is a way that we use to begin to regulate brainwaves, teach people a formula on how to slow down their conscious mind, open the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, get beyond the analytical mind, and then rewrite the program to change some subconscious state of mind and body so that now they're no longer unconsciously sabotaging themselves and their lives.